You win the coin toss. That's what you get. You get the opportunity to have the advantage, and they handed it right over to us.
Yeah, well,
Not trying to harp on the guy, but it was a huge, like when they said we want to receive, and the ref looked at Fred and he said, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
You sure you want to receive? And he said, yeah, I want to receive. I want the ball.
I was texting.
Just like, I jumped out of my seat and said, hey, here we go. Let's go, boys.
Perfect.
They want to receive. We get second possession. We know exactly what they want. Defense, hold them. Just hold them to 3. Just hold them to 3. We're going to go down here and win this thing, baby.
Freaking crazy. Really was. I was texting Nick before that even happened, because we go over the same situation in playoff football.
You know what? I didn't even realize that the playoff rules were different in overtime, so I assumed you just want the ball because you score a touchdown and win, but I guess that's not the case. So I don't totally know the strategy there. No, we haven't talked about it, no.
It's just something we talked about with, none of us have a ton of experience of it, but we went through all the analytics and talked with those guys, and we just thought it'd be better. We wanted the ball third. If both teams matched and scored, we wanted to be the ones who had the chance to go win, and we got that field goal, so we knew we had to hold them to at least to a field goal, and if we did, then we felt it was in our hands after that.
Yeah, that can go either way. So we would have kicked the ball off. The officials actually are on top of it right away. They're on it. There were still a couple seconds on the clock, and we have the extra officials on the sideline, and they were asking me what we would do, and I said we would kick off. Made sure Patrick was on board with it. He was the one who had to go out and do that with the officials. So, and then Dave took making sure that he was there. But that we had already gone through all of that. The advantage of having Mike Frazier is he, like I'm sure their guy did, does all these studies, and we had it all mapped out. We were able to cover it with the guys, and so everybody knew. Now when it happened, with that amount of time on the clock, I think we were all like, whoa, So I know what Nicole said there.
As a defender, they're crazy. They're crazy. Yeah. Because the overtime rule has changed, where both teams get the ball, no matter who scores. So, originally you want to let the other team get the ball, stop them holding the 3, so you know where you got. Or if you stop them, they play it, then all you have to do is kick 3.
When you're holding the 3, you're feeling walking off the field knowing 15's coming up.
Yeah, no, that's the type of trust we have in each other. We get the ball back to Andy, Pat, and Trav. We always feel like there's something they can do in any given moment that they can put it in the end zone, and they just did that.
We went into overtime, like, hey, just to clarify, like, what are the rules? And he goes, it's the playoffs, so he explained the rules to me and everything, so I had an understanding of it.
Some of the players after the game said they did not know the new rules for overtime, and Brock just said that he kind of went to Brian right at the start of overtime for kind of a refresher of, okay, these are the rules, right? Was it important, do you think, for the players to know the new rule as it pertains to overtime in the playoffs?
Well, yeah, I mean, we did say, we told everyone as we were waiting for the coin toss, hey, review everyone with them, make sure they're sure before we go out. So we asked the position coach to do that, but no, I didn't cover it in a meeting on the Super Bowl week. I don't think that changes anything. We did it with our analytics department. We decided that going into the playoffs. I think you guys know how I've explained how I make decisions with that stuff in the past. I take all the information I can get, especially ones I haven't been in, and our analytics felt that was the best way to go. But as you guys know, I don't always just go with that. I take into account what they say, what they think is right, and then I go off my gut in the heat of battle. And I knew what they felt going into it. And when I think about that during the moments I have to make the decision, I think the type of game it did match what they felt was the best way to do. It did seem more like a field goal game. And our defense had been out there for a real long time right before that. So I didn't feel at all to override that at the time.
Some other context, I believe we just closed, I think it was 11-play drive that we just closed the game with. And when you're playing Mahomes, you're chasing him a lot, so there's a lot of effort that's expended. I think, the context from there is you need some time to get fresh. And so all those things play into it. And those were sound decisions.
as you can see, I've compiled all the clips and I've put them back to back of Chiefs coaches, players, 49ers players, coaches. It's talking about this whole overtime fiasco that continues to be discussed. And of course, the reason why it's back in the headlines today is because Travis Kelce goes onto his podcast with Jason Kelce, and they're just talking about like how they can't even believe that the 49ers made that decision to take the ball in overtime. And the insight from that was the ref asking Fred Warner if he was sure. Now, again, we don't know if that happened or not, but if it really did, again, this kind of information that is coming out, it just makes it sting, whether right or whether wrong. Just hearing how prepared the Chiefs were for this overtime rule, starting back in training camp. They had I couldn't find the exact clip, but there was a player who said they started doing meetings on this in training camp. They had meetings all throughout the playoffs, focusing on the overtime rules and strategy. And you hear that, and then you hear Kyle Juszczyk say he didn't even know what the rules were. And it's just one of those things where it's like, obviously there's a lot that goes into these games. There's a lot of preparation that goes into these games, but I think back to all these big time stories of how teams win the Super Bowls and how they prepare for very specific things that ultimately become the difference in the game. And for this case, it was the Chiefs preparing for overtime, and they were completely prepared, whereas it sounds more like the 49ers weren't. And regardless of the strategies that needed to be played out, whether taking the ball, playing for the third possession, like Kyle Shanahan talked about, I don't know. I'm not a schemer. I'm not a coordinator. So I kind of hear what Kyle was saying about, and John were saying about how the defense was just out there. They were gassed, those types of things. But you also hear on the other side how Patrick Mahomes is saying that if the 49ers scored a touchdown, they were going for two. There was no third possession that was going to occur. And so the benefit of kicking the ball off in overtime allows you to understand what you need to do. And whereas the 49ers, again, found themselves in a position where they just took the field goal points, right? Instead of, if it was flipped and the Chiefs had scored, the 49ers automatically know that every single series is a 4-down territory. You have to score. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And that's the difference in the strategy, is that the 49ers just took the points and with 3, and the Kansas City Chiefs were like, hell yeah, thank you. That's the hardest part, I think, about all this, is like, I can kind of understand from a certain perspective, like where Kyle's coming from. But on the other hand, you hear how the Chiefs have prepared and discussed and like couldn't believe it. And it's just like, it's painful. There's no other way around it. It's just painful. It's painful to hear the difference in preparation and how one side perceived it, how the other side perceived it. Chris Jones called them crazy. Travis Kelce's laughing at them. The ref is asking Fred Warner, are you sure? That's what hurts about this. Because if the 49ers win in overtime, we don't care. We don't care about that. Like, we don't care. That's the thing. If the 49ers win this game, we don't care about any of this stuff that is coming out, because they win and they're Super Bowl champs and nothing else matters. But because they didn't, everything is being scrutinized in the loss. And now this overtime thing is taking on a life of its own. And the hard part, as someone who's on the outside looking in, is, again, like I said earlier, one team being ultra prepared and one team being seemingly underprepared, and that being the ultimate difference in the game. Yeah, it's been a rough couple days. What do you guys feel about this? Do you think Do you think this isn't a big deal? Do you think it's like, it's whatever, or are you seeing it like, man, the Chiefs were clearly prepared, the 49ers weren't, and that ultimately was the difference in the game? Or is the fact, would anything have changed if, let's say, the 49ers had meetings about this all year and discussed it ad nauseum and all these? Would it have changed? I have no idea, but you let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.